Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hidden Gems podcast. In this show, where we like to focus on a streaming service and what hidden gems you can find on that service. And we have a lot of fun. Hope you're all having a great December. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Ryan is here.
Hey Rachel, it's great to be back with you once again. How many Christmas movies deep are you in now?
I'm almost at 100. This is so exciting.
Wow. Have
Yes.
you have you tapped out yet, or can you?
I, I'm still going. I'm still doing. They haven't beaten me yet.
I admire your tenacity.
But I finished all of my Oscar screenings. That to me is the bigger accomplishment. That was more work.
I know you've been having a very difficult time with
Woo.
these movies.
Yeah, not many that I've loved. I just of these sort of awards caliber films. Some I probably like I was looking at the AFI best of the year list, and I actually went fresh on 7 out of 10 of them, but there just weren't that many that I like loved.
Like
Uh,
gush.
but yeah, and but fortunately there are some like I loved RRR, I loved Avatar: The Way of Water, I loved the new Pinocchio. So there are some that I'm really enjoying. So thankfully.
Yeah, well, my local theater finally just got The Fablemans, and it's a bit of a time crunch because I've got to watch several Christmas movies still for my Christmania series, and then by the time this drops, the first episode of the series will have dropped. My director series going into next year will be for M. Night Shyamalan and covering all of the movies of his I have yet to cover. So
Mm.
I watched his first movie, Praying with Anger, and then literally just today I watched his movie Wide Awake, which starred Rosie O'Donnell. And
Oh, I've never seen that.
I had such a hard time finding those two. I found Wide Awake on Hoopla and I watched it there. But Praying with Anger was on YouTube in pretty shoddy quality, but I did find
Oh.
it and I did watch it. But
Oh.
I'm secretly looking forward to slash dreading the series just because of Shyamalan's track record. But thankfully, I've got a great guest coming on to review Last Airbender with me, and Jacob Martin's going to be talking about The Village with me. So I'm gonna have some help for this.
I'm glad you have some help with Airbender. Woo, that's a
Yeah.
rough sit.
It's especially nice because my guest is like the biggest Avatar: The Last Airbender fan I know. So we can
Oh,
both
that'll be
rage
fun.
at it with the force of 2,000 suns instead of 1,000 suns.
Yeah. That would be really good. I'll definitely listen to that. Uh, so, well, good. Why don't you tell our listeners what service we're talking about today?
We're talking about Netflix, and really, this is like the I feel like this service, when you mention streaming to someone, this is the service that immediately snaps into their head, if you really
Yeah.
do think about it.
Yeah.
And I think because streaming has gotten so diversified, and there's now, I think, things for pretty much any and all tastes and price range, Netflix maybe you have to try a bit harder in order to get more stuff on there. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, no, they definitely have to. I mean, especially in their catalog. So like think because they relied a lot in the early days of things like Friends and The Office, stuff like that. And now that's all gone. So they have to work harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Losing The Office is just going to crush them. And then they're losing Breaking Bad. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
which those two are just pretty big
Mhm.
forces on that service.
Yeah. Yeah. I think especially when you think of streaming shows, the first thing you think about is Netflix as far as television, for sure.
Right. And they've still got some aces up their sleeves. They got Stranger Things still going on, which that's going to be wrapping up soon.
Mhm. They got
They
The
they've
Crown.
they've been releasing some pretty good movies from what I hear. All Quiet on the Western Front, which I've yet to see, but I want to see. It looks
So good.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they have Bridgerton, which is a huge hit for them. There's a lot of really good shows. I loved Arcane. That was so good last year. I love Hilda. That's one of my favorites of recent years. So yeah, they really are incredible. But we're not talking about those big hits this time. We're talking about hidden gems.
Taking a little off the beaten path.
Yes, that's the whole idea here. And there's still a lot, and maybe a few minor, maybe a little stretch for hidden gem, but I'm going to make my case. But why don't you give your first choice?
So my first choice is a movie from 1998, and it's one of my favorite action comedies ever. It is the first Rush Hour movie. Now, I'll just get out in front of it and say that Brett Ratner directed this, and he's things have been made and allegations have been made, and I'm not going to recommend this for him. I'm recommending it because of Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan and how they just have electric chemistry together. I've talked to some people who think that Chris Tucker is kind of annoying, which I mean I can kind of understand, but he is so incredibly funny in this movie, and just how the language barrier just like completely throws both of them off. And Jackie Chan's Jackie Chan. He does Jackie Chan things. There's a lot of fighting in this, and it's all just a lot of fun. And really, that's the reason to watch this in case somehow you haven't. There's so many fun sequences. Tom Wilkinson is in there, is the villain. I won't go any further in case anyone has not seen it. And overall, this is just a movie that's a lot of fun. And I will say there's some parts of it that have not aged the best, but it's late 90s. What you gonna do?
Yeah, he does kind of grate on me a little bit, Chris Tucker in this movie, but I do think they also have pretty fun chemistry, and the action is great. I mean, it's not, if you want to see peak Jackie Chan, you should watch something like Police Story or something like that from uh, China. But nevertheless, it's still a lot of fun, and some good set pieces. I remember when they're in that big building at the end where he uses the banners to get down from the. It's cool. It's a cool scene.
Yeah,
Oh, I can't hear you.
it's really intense, that last
Yeah,
15, 20 minutes or so. And and of course the
yeah.
classic, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Like that's just great stuff. And you know, earlier this year I was watching Jackie Brown because that was one of the Quentin Tarantino movies I've never seen, and it's really good. But he's in there for maybe 20 minutes, and he's really funny in that. And I won't say what happens to him, but he's really funny in there. And
Who's in that?
Chris Tucker, he's in there for
Oh, okay.
literally like a couple scenes, but he's
Oh, I
awesome.
didn't know that.
No, I didn't know either. He's Samuel L. Jackson's character's like associate.
Yeah, he's also in A Star Is Born.
Yes, I did see that. That
Mhm.
was weird, but nice to see him get into the works there.
Surprising. Or wait, is it A Star Is Born, or I'm getting confused?
Oh, wait.
Sorry, no,
So
he's also in Silver Linings Playbook. That's the one. Sorry.
that's the one. I was going to say, like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And I remember being really surprised because he wasn't like his normal sort of manic self in that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Well,
was
good.
actually kind of normal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my first choice is a movie that I think has been unfairly maligned. It's the recent animated version of Christmas Carol called Scrooge: A Christmas Carol. And this is a cool, I think, take on the Christmas Carol story, where they make it a little bit fantastical. They really uh, go off of those elements, and they have an incredible voice cast: Luke Evans, Olivia Colman, Jesse Buckley, Johnny Flynn. The list goes on. Great cast. Incredible singing. Jesse Buckley's songs in particular are so beautiful. I liked the animation. I thought it was beautiful and bright and fresh, and I thought that it had kind of fun with the concept. You know, like Jacob Marley is sort of a robot ghost, which is, I thought, fun. And so I don't know. I feel like people are being really harsh on it. Like, so one person said that it was borderline unwatchable, which I don't understand that. Like, I understand if you don't like it, but I don't really see how it's unwatchable. But I don't know, to each their own, I suppose. I really enjoyed it. I liked the songs. I liked the animation. Of course, I liked the story. Uh, so I don't know. I think, uh, I think people are being too hard on it, but I guess they like what they like.
I remember I remember perusing RogerEbert.com, and this movie has like a 1 out of 4 stars, and I was like, wow, that's pretty low.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of surprising sometimes, but I guess people probably feel that way about me and Glass Onion, which I thought was terrible. And people probably be like, "Oh, that was too harsh," but that was how I felt. So, like I said, teach their own. But I enjoyed it. I thought this was good.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess speaking of a Netflix movie, Glass Onion.
There you go.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Glass Onion, yeah, my I took my dad to see it on Black Friday.
Oh. I'm beginning to think maybe I just don't love mysteries.
No,
Because
no, I
ever since like I liked the first one, Knives Out. I thought that was fun. It was so self-contained all in this one house, and you could kind of build all the clues. But this, I just felt like with Glass Onion that every scene was exposition. Every scene was what character explaining, whether it was Edward Norton or Daniel Craig, uh, or Janelle Monáe, and I don't know. I just got really annoyed with it, but that was just me.
Yeah, and Ryan Johnson, like I said in my review of Glass Onion, it was good, but it could have been so much better. I feel like there was like 3 or 4 different ideas, and none of them were executed all that well. So it was just kind of there for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this version of Christmas Carol also uses the songs from the 1970 version. So if you like that version with Albert Finney, which is kind of nutty as well, uh, in that version, Scrooge famously goes to hell. But yeah. So if you like that, I don't see why you wouldn't like this.
Yeah, having recently seen the George C. Scott version for Christmania, I'm in a bit of a Christmas Carol mood, if you will.
Oh, there you go. Well, and you have this, and then also Spirited, which is so much fun, and I reviewed for Family Movie Night this week. That's on Apple. And then also this year on Hallmark Channel, we got a movie called Ghosts of Christmas Always, which was actually really good, very good about the behind the scenes of the Scrooging operations and a particular Ghost of Christmas Past. And it was really clever, fun. I recommend it. All right, what's your next pick?
So my next choice is a movie from 2006, and it is called RV. And this starred the late great Robin Williams, as well as Cheryl Hines, Kristen Chenoweth, and Josh Hutcherson. And it tells the story of a man who promises to take his family to Hawaii for their big family vacation, but it comes up at his job that a big merger is about to happen and they really need him, but he's promised a trip for his family. So, under the guise of an RV trip, he goes to up the merger under the guise of this big RV trip, and the family absolutely hates it. This was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. We all know who he is, Men in Black, among other things. And this movie does not have good reviews at all, but maybe I was just in the right place at the right time, and I just like it, and I just really do. I mean, it's Robin Williams, so of course he's going to be really funny in it, and he is. He's not like his over the top self, but as a father, you kind of buy that, and he does have some very nice moments. Cheryl Hines is really funny as his wife. They have a very, I guess, standoffish demeanor. She straight up says, "I have told you this a bunch of times. We are not friendly." I'm like, wow, okay. And along this RV trip, they run into this family called the Gornickies, who are who basically live on the road, and they're basically like selling fancy car horns or truck horns. Like it's one of those. And the husband is played by Jeff Daniels, and the wife is played by Kristen Chenoweth, and they're a lot of fun. So for what this movie is, I think it's really funny in on occasions, and it's a nice movie for the family. And it's sub 90 minutes, or actually sub an hour 45. It's an hour 39, so it's a pretty quick sit.
Hmm. I've never seen this one, I have to say. I think the reviews maybe scared me off a little bit, but that's good to hear that you liked it.
Yeah, it's there's definitely some low-hanging fruit jokes, like especially one where Ron Williams has to clean out the toilet in the RV and it does not go well for him.
Hmm.
So if any of you are like super low in not into that low brow stuff, then maybe you should skip it. But like I said, I guess I was just in the right place in the right time, and I just had a good feeling about it.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, in the end, with a comedy, all that really matters is did you laugh or did you not laugh?
And I
And
did.
if you laughed, then that's what matters. It can have the stupidest story in the world, but if I'm laughing, I don't care.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, my next pick is a movie from this summer, and it did do pretty well, and it's based on a beloved novel. But nevertheless, I feel like people don't know it's on Netflix that much. So I'm talking about Where the Crawdads Sing. This is director Olivia Newman. It's based on the popular novel, which I have also read. And it's about this woman, Kaya, who gets kind of left in the swamps. I think it's in Florida or North Carolina or someplace like that, South Carolina. Anyway, the swamps, and she becomes kind of like the swamp girl, and there's like this lore around her. And Daisy Edgar Jones is really good as Kaya. She's basically exactly what I imagined from reading the book. And then I think they the romance, there's sort of a love triangle, is fine. You know, it's the neither of the guys are very charismatic or great, but you know, it's serviceable. And she ends up going to trial for there's a like courtroom element. And this movie does really good at like building an atmosphere. You definitely get a sense of this real place, and her performance is so good that it can sort of over it can compensate for some of the cheesier, less well done elements of the movie. So I enjoyed it. I know it had a mixed response from people, but I liked it.
Yeah, working at a library, this book has been insanely popular. The reserve list is still like really long for this book, and especially the movie. So much so that I believe coming up very soon we're going to be doing a movie screening at the library of Where the Crawdads Sing, and I imagine it's going
Mhm.
to be very popular.
Yeah, yeah, it did well at the box office. So, and despite the challenges around it, so yeah, it. I think if people missed it, especially if you liked the book, I definitely think that you will enjoy the movie. So, what do you have next?
So my next choice is a movie from 2009, and it stars Jim Carrey, and it is called Yes Man. And it tells the story of a man played by Jim Carrey who says no to literally everything. It's like his default thing. He doesn't want to go beyond a certain level. His wife has divorced him. He lives alone. It's pretty much like every answer is like no to him. But then he is dragged along to this like motivational speakers thing by his former college roommate, played by I believe it's Donny Osmond, and the speakers played by Terrence Stamp, and he challenges him to say yes to everything. And once he starts doing that, things begin to improve for him, and he eventually meets a girl played by Zoe Deschanel, and the two become romantically linked together. This movie is very silly in terms of saying yes to literally everything, and the movie's lesson is that it's best to have the wisdom to know the difference between the yes and the no. But but it's but I think this movie is fun. It's Jim Carrey a little past his prime, but he still has a lot of that Jim Carrey energy that we know. There's a lot of fun stuff here, like the when Carrey and Deschanel decide to take a vacation, but they choose the first available flight, which is to Lincoln, Nebraska, and they turn that into their vacation, and they go to a Nebraska football game, and they do a bunch of fun stuff over there. And it's really fun, their dynamic. They did a really good job. And one of my favorite scenes of the movie is when he stands up for this girl, not Zoe Deschanel, in this bar, and he's really drunk, and he gets into a fist fight with the jealous boyfriend, and he says, if I win the fight, I get to take her to a ball, because that's what every girl wants. Every girl wants to go to a ball. And the girl is like, that is so nice. Smash cut to the boyfriend punching him in the face. It's funnier than how I described it, but it is funny. And Bradley Cooper is also in here as Jim Carrey's friend. And so, yeah, not the best reviewed movie ever, but I laughed at it, and I think it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like Liar Liar, but like
In
light.
reverse.
Yeah, kind of like. But it's interesting because there was a Lifetime movie last year that we just watched for our patron watch along, which y'all should check out. It's really fun. Called Saying Yes to Christmas is the name, and it's kind of similar, but it's this girl and she gets cursed. She can't say no to any Christmas invitation that gets sent her way. So people are like, "Will you come to the tree lighting?" Yes, I gotta come. Or will you come help us with the pageant? Yes, or whatever it is. And it's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed rewatching it yesterday. But it's kind of a similar idea. So if people want a Christmas version, you should check that out. It's good.
Yeah, and the movie was actually directed by Peyton Reed, who would go on to direct both the first two Ant-Man movies.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, my next pick is another one from this year. And it's actually I didn't realize all of my picks are 2022 films, but this one is called Emily the Criminal. And I saw this at Sundance, and it seems like amongst film Twitter, at least, people are like loving this film. And I'm not there. I didn't like love it, but I thought it was solid, decent film. It's about this girl who loses her job, and she's having trouble finding a new job in the workforce. She either doesn't have the experience or has too much experience, one or the other. And so she ends up getting involved in this it starts out as this small credit card scam kind of thing. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and she becomes more and more involved. And there's some like decent action and some thriller elements. It's like nothing you haven't seen before, but done pretty well. And Audrey Plaza is good, and she has this kind of handler that she starts a relationship with, who's pretty dreamy. And it has like something to say about millennials and the disappointment in the job experience that they've had, that they were sort of built up that they were going to have this, your dreams are going to come true and all this stuff. And then they get into the work world, and it's a lot different than they were promised. So I think there's some of that there. And overall, it's like a solid, slick, entertaining little thriller.
I remember seeing the trailer for this and being really impressed, and unfortunately, it came nowhere near my area. But now it is on Netflix, and now I can officially see it because I have
Yeah.
wanted to for a minute now.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good film, and she gives a good performance. It's different than you typically see Audrey Plaza. She's more serious here.
Yeah.
So what's your next pick?
So my next choice is a movie from 2013, and it is called Rush. This was directed by Ron Howard. We all know who he is, and this is based on the true story of the friendship slash rivalry between Formula One drivers Niki Lauda and James Hunt. And in full disclosure, I'm not big into Formula One. I know what it is. I actually have found some very entertaining Formula One reels on Instagram. I know that sounds weird, but I stumbled onto them and I really like them. But But you really don't have to be into Formula One to like this movie because it really uses Formula One to focus on the relationship between Lauda and Hunt. Hunt is played by Chris Hemsworth, and this came out the same year as Thor: The Dark World, so we're getting like near peak him MCU Thor right here. And Lauda is played by, oh shoot, I want to say it's Daniel Bruhl.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is Daniel Bruhl, who would end up becoming Zemo in the MCU. So we've got a hero and a villain in the MCU going up against each other. And it is about the rivalry between the two and how competitive they were, and just they were on separate teams, and they would eventually respect each other, especially after a horrible accident that disfigures Lauda, and he would race afterwards, but he looked like a completely different person before and afterwards. But really, the movie kind of like Rocky. There is boxing in Rocky, but it's used as a vehicle to tell a much deeper story. Rush uses F1 to tell the story of these F1 drivers and how they brought out the best and the worst in each other. And this comes highly recommended, especially for the cinematography. The movie looks absolutely brilliant.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard good things about this, but I haven't seen it. I haven't gotten around to it. I don't know why, but yeah, I've heard it's good. The Ron Howard, he certainly has a lot of variety. That's for sure.
Not only that, but he likes to do a lot, just bouncing from various genres.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's done, it seems like he's done a little bit of everything.
Yeah, he Apollo 13, A
Hmm.
Beautiful Mind. So yeah, he's definitely gone from one to the other, and he's been a success for most of it. So
Yeah, I
that
mean,
should be commended.
he did 13 Lives this year. Then he has something like Splash. And I mean, just everything. So that's cool. All right. Well, my next pick is brand new, just barely got released. And it's got a lot of hype, but I just felt like talking about it. We talked about it this week with my friend Sean Means. It's Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. And I think this probably will win Best Animated Film for the year. It seems to be going that way, and I think it's deserved. This is an absolutely beautiful film. The animation is gorgeous, and it, to me at least, I felt like it was very different than the Disney classic in really fun ways. I mean, the stop motion animation is so beautiful, but it takes on some themes that the original doesn't take on, as far as uh, grief and loss and war and religion are all there in this, but all done very well. And I mean, if I was there is sort of a middle section where Pinocchio goes to war that I think goes on a little long, but other than that, I really enjoyed the film. I thought the music was incredible. I uh, I I I thought it had really tender moments. It had some funny moments. It might be a little bit too much for small kids. So I would say older, like maybe 7 or 8, a little bit older kids, I think, for this one, because just the war and some of the other stuff for little kids might be too much. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro is the master of dark enough so that it is
Yeah.
considered dark, but not so dark to turn away families.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly has his R-rated films like Pan's Labyrinth and things like that, but in The Shape of Water, I think that's rated R. But anyway, but yeah, he also can do these family films where there's a sweet message along with the darkness, and that's always been a part of Pinocchio. It's always been the darkness, but to go along with it. So he, especially with how bad that Zemeckis one was this year, this was a really refreshing
Yeah, and I
edition.
know you as an animation fan, you've been starving for something like this.
Yes, especially after how bad that Zemeckis one was. That's for sure.
That movie is the Del Toro one's better by default. Like it doesn't even have to
Yeah,
try.
that's
It
true.
credit the opening
Yeah.
credits just have to roll and they'd be like
Yeah.
already better.
Yes. So I hope you get to see it soon. It was
Oh,
really good.
yeah, I've got a lot. I got a lot of catching up to do. I feel like I'm keeping my head above water, and I know I shouldn't complain. I'm not someone like you who has to watch everything Hallmark pumps out, but I mean, there's a part of me that's like, I can't make my 10 best of the year list until I see this, and this. And before I jumped onto here, just looking at what's coming to my local theater Christmas weekend, Puss in Boots, Puss in Boots, just that, and then a
Mhm.
couple of others. And I thought that I had, oh yeah, Puss in Boots, Babylon, and I Want to Dance with Someone. So
Yeah.
so little time, am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Babylon. Over 3 hours. Get ready.
Oh well, it's Chazelle, so I'm ready for it.
Right. All right. Well, what's your next pick? Your last
So
pick.
so my final choice is a movie from 2014. I realize I'm in a doing it in a bit of a soft chronological order. In yeah, a soft chronological order. Started in 98, now I'm in 2014. So my last choice is a movie called Saint Vincent. This movie stars Bill Murray, Melissa McCarthy, and Naomi Watts. It tells the story of a family who moves in next door to the typical grumpy neighbor named Vincent, played by Bill Murray. And the family, or the wife and the husband are getting a divorce, leaving their son to start to find for help elsewhere, and he ends up stumbling upon Vincent, and the two form a bit of a very nice relationship. But Vincent has his own things going on. He accidentally, I guess, I don't know if accidentally is the right word, but he ends up getting this woman who works at a strip club. I don't want to say anything that's on PC or anything. He gets her pregnant, and so and is going to keep the baby and help with that. But he's not the kind of person you typically would want to meet. But he's one of those hearts of gold types, if that makes any sense. Bill Murray is really like these are like the roles he pretty much plays nowadays, but he's really good in this. Through the rough exterior, he really is a nice person, and the movie does a good job of showing that. No, I'm not a humongous fan of Melissa McCarthy. She has to be in the right thing, and she is in the right thing here. I think she is really good in this. Naomi Watts is good, who they got to play a little boy. His name is Oliver in the movie, but he's played by Jaden Martell, and he's good in here as well. And really, the movie is like it's a weird premise, but once you get it started, it is actually quite nice, and it has a very nice message, and is actually quite funny at times. There's actually one of my favorite jokes in the movie is after Vincent has a heart attack, he's in the hospital, and they're trying to, make him feel better and get him back to his senses. So they have him do like word association, and Melissa McCarthy has pulls up a cactus, and Bill Murray's like, "That's a cactus," and Melissa McCarthy's like, "No, no, no, this is meant to say prick."
Oh, right.
It's funnier in the context of that, but it's my point is this movie is actually pretty funny.
Cool. I have never heard of this, so it's new to me. So good. Okay, which is exactly the point of Hidden Gems, right?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. All right, my last pick is another from 2022. This is a rom-com called Wedding Season that is really fun. It's these two Indian American uh couple that there's all of these weddings, and the weddings are like elaborate. There's the huge, sometimes multiple day affairs and things, and they could get tired of people asking them if why aren't they dating, or why are they alone, and kind of a thing. So they decide to pretend to be in a relationship. We've seen this kind of plot many times, but they pretend to be in a relationship for the wedding season, and of course they end up kind of falling for each other as they pretend to be in love. And these two have great chemistry. You get a lot of really fun weddings, very elaborate, with great not costumes, great outfits, and dresses and saris and things like that. And it's just a cute little rom-com.
Yeah, I remember, kind of sort of unrelated, but I remember on Facebook the other night, I saw this video of this woman who snuck onto a plane that her future husband was going to be on, and she proposed to him by stowing herself in the little cabin
What?
there where you put the luggage in, and
Uh-huh.
she got like others to be on it and like, hey, I'm trying to propose to him, and she's like dropping flower rose petals onto the husband. He's like, what is falling off I hear? And they're like, turn around, and she's like, will you marry me?
Oh my
And
gosh, that's funny. I didn't think they would allow that security and everything. I would
so I'm
think you
like
could be
watching this, and
arrested.
I'm like watching this. I'm thinking to myself, this woman must really love this man to do this level of commitment for their proposal.
Yeah, that's really funny. Well, nothing that crazy in wedding season, but a lot of fun weddings and good chemistry, and you get to see a lot of weddings. So
Yeah.
yeah. So there we go. We did it.
All right.
Let us know what you have been watching on Netflix. There's been a lot lately. So yeah, let us know in the comment section or on Twitter. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And Ryan, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. Then there's, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called Ryan Cam. Chris Mania is going strong. We're recording this on a Sunday. That means my review for Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas, just dropped. And that was certainly a very interesting experience, seeing the very first slasher movie. It beat Halloween by a year. And then the other night, that Saturday night, I did my very first watch along with Jacob Martin, my Life in the Movies podcast partner. We watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation together, and it was so much fun. And I think I want to try and make those more of a regular thing on the channel. So I'm thinking maybe do a once a month kind of thing. I think that might be fun.
Yeah.
So the replay is currently on the channel now if you would like to check that out. And then after Black Christmas on Christmania, I'll be covering an Ed Asner double feature of The Gathering, which was a TV movie released in 1977, and The Christmas Star, which was released from Disney in 1986. And then my
Cool.
review for Die Hard, which I will be joined by Loretto from cinemaspot.com. So a lot coming to the channel, and I do plan on seeing Avatar and having a review up for that as soon as I can. So if you have
Cool.
not checked me out, please do.
Yes, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And you can find me at Hallmarkies Podcast, where we have tons of coverage. And I'm really excited this week. We have the senior vice president at Hallmark Media over content development on the podcast. And so that was a lot of work to get. And it was really fun to get that site like insider perspective. So definitely check out Hallmarkies Podcast. You'll really enjoy it. And if you were listening to this on iTunes, if you could leave your ratings and reviews, that really helps us a lot. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, which we're still working to get the Facebook back. But we got some progress on that level, but still working at it. And but you can find us all the rest of the places in the Patreon group. It's a lot of fun. And we also have the merch store, which has tons of festive designs. So we'll take a look at that, and that really helps us. And you get hashtag animation junkie shirts. And thanks again, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.